Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. No need for introductions this time. This has been a really popular request for a while now, with lots of viewers asking me to cover this interaction ever since the release of Wilds of Eldraine. Amy bargains Beseech the Mirror. Nick responds with Opposition Agent, and makes Amy find a Grizzly Bears. Is Grizzly Bears exiled face up or face down? Which player can cast Grizzly Bears? What changes about this answer if Beseech the Mirror was not bargained? So, in a vacuum, neither of these cards is particularly troublesome. Taken alone, it's pretty obvious what each one does, and the instructions are pretty easy to follow, even without a super high level of rules knowledge. Interactions like this one are tricky because you need to look closely at something that's stuck in the background most of the time. Getting the answer right relies on understanding exactly what's officially going on during the instructions on each of these cards. With Opposition Agent specifically, that's no mean feat, since even though what it does is conceptually simple, it's a pretty unique effect. A lot of the time, when a card has some wacky effect that only it does, there will be a rule or even a whole section in the comprehensive rules that describes exactly how the card works. Unfortunately, while the CR does call out Opposition Agent, it's in relation to the part where you can control another player, which isn't really helpful in answering our question here. Fortunately, the rules still do have our back. Normally, when you're resolving spells and abilities, use the normal English meaning of the words that you see. Sometimes, though, the game rules have special definitions for certain keywords, which supersede the meaning that those words would ordinarily have. It turns out that search is one such keyworded action. So let's use this definition to work through exactly what officially happens in the game when Amy resolves Beseech the Mirror under normal circumstances, without an Opposition Agent in play. Amy would pick up her library, look at all the cards in there, and then point to one. That's what searching her library for a card means. Then she'll exile the card that she pointed to face down. Then she'll shuffle her library. After that, the game proceeds with the rest of the resolution of that spell. Now let's add the Opposition Agent back into the equation and see what changes. First, Nick controls Amy while she's searching, so he will tell Amy what card that she's going to point to. As a brief aside, Beseech the Mirror just has you search for a card, so Nick can go with whatever card he wants. But if it said to search for a card with certain characteristics, Nick would have to respect that. So if Amy had played a Beseech the Queen, then he would need to have Amy point to a card with mana value less than or equal to the number of lands that she controls. In any case, let's now observe that Opposition Agent's ability says that it applies while Amy is searching her library. This means that Amy will exile the Grizzly Bears via the Opposition Agent's effect immediately after she points to it, while she's still officially in the process of searching. Because Opposition Agent does not say whether to exile the card face up or face down, it defaults to being exiled face up. After this search, the next step in the Beseech the Mirror's resolution would be for Amy to exile the card that she found face down. Except, whoops, she can't do that because it's already exiled. It turns out that there's an important consequence to the fact that the card is exiled this way. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, you've probably already seen this rule, which says that when the Grizzly Bears changes zones from the library to exile, it becomes a completely new object with no relationship to its previous existence. This raises an interesting question. If the Grizzly Bears card that Amy found in her search is not the same as the Grizzly Bears card that's in exile, how can Beseech the Mirror let Amy play it? Now, without an Opposition Agent, the answer is this rule here, which acts as a special exception to the earlier one. If an effect exiles a card, other parts of that same effect can find it. So Beseech the Mirror works exactly the way that you would expect it to. Unfortunately, the Opposition Agent throws a little bit of a wrench into this. Because Grizzly Bears was not exiled by the effect of Beseech the Mirror, other parts of that effect cannot use this exception to find it. This means that she will not be able to play the Grizzly Bears or put it into her hand. This answer is the exact same if Beseech the Mirror was not bargained. After the Beseech the Mirror finishes resolving, Nick will get priority. If the card that he had Amy exile was an instant, he would be able to cast it at this time. However, even though the Opposition Agent lets him play the exiled card, he still needs to cast it according to the normal timing restrictions associated with casting a spell of that type. So he'll need to wait until his turn if he wants to cast Amy's Grizzly Bears himself. But that's all I have for you today. How did you do? Join me again next time for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.